objective is to add value to each phone call that is being made by a patient to a provider, and even from a provider just trying to actually follow up with the patient.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Founders in LA podcast. I'm your host Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight through a product lens on some of the exceptional founders we have as part of the LA community in an unedited, one-take organic conversation. With us today is Nyamitse-Calvin Mahinda. Thanks for coming to the studio today, Calvin.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Excited to join you in this series of podcasts for sure.
Oh, and definitely love Techstars folks here. You're fresh off the Techstars stage, so thank you for taking the time to come here.
Thank you, and for you too. Thank you for even taking the time to actually join us during the demo day and so forth. That's how we ended up here. So excited to actually share a little bit more.
Oh, this is going to be a good one. I love it already. But first, we got to do a word from our sponsors. Founders in LA is brought to you by Nearshore. Nearshore is a trailblazer in nearshore outsourcing and staff augmentation. With over 15 years of experience offering exceptional Latin American software development, data, product, and design talent for U.S. projects, Nearshore has revolutionized the way companies scale their teams. They stand apart with 50% female leadership, are trusted by companies large and small, and have been helping U.S. customers grow since before nearshoring was cool. Discover how Nearshore can power your tech goals and help you stay lean while scaling fast. Learn more at www.nearshore.com. That's www.nearsure.com. We're also brought to you by United Club. United Club is a co-working space that sets itself apart. With locations in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and Hermosa, United is where creativity flourishes. Unlike traditional offices, they provide an inspiring environment where ideas can thrive and businesses can grow. With United, there's no hidden fees, flexible terms, options for dedicated offices, and unlimited access to conference rooms, a photo studio, this podcast studio, plus standard 3D printers and 24/7 access at any of their locations. They're local champions who support neighborhood businesses, open their event spaces to nonprofits, and celebrate art, music, and culture. Join United Club and experience co-working like never before. Learn more at www.united.club. Our guest today is Nyamitse-Calvin Mahinda. He is the CEO and co-founder of Vital Audio. Could you just please give us the 30-second description of Vital Audio?
Yes, happy to share that. Vital Audio is a company building digital voice biomarkers for clinical insight. We are leading the revolution or the change of like how we leverage existing technology to provide clinical insights to clinicians and also to patients to just improve overall care delivery, integrated care models, and quality of the community health overall. Yeah.
And you're saying audio markers.
Yeah.
Can you go a little bit more into what that entails?
Yeah, so our technology leverages the human voice at a different capacity. During active phone call, we just use the human voice to actually extract and report the heart rate variability, lung capacity, respiratory rate, all through signal processing of the patient's voice and just relaying them directly into the provider's chart. So in 15 to 30 seconds of a provider being on the phone with the patient, we're able to pull this data and send it back to them.
Wow. All right. So you're saying that what your technology is enabling is the ability to take the audio phone call and extract vital signs from that, which I guess makes sense because at the end of the day, audio just turns into, audio waves. They're just ones and zeros if you really want to break it down. Yeah. And you're finding ways to take that information and kind of extract that and turn it into vital signs?
Exactly, yeah. So what we actually do is we study the embedded signals of like the cardiac pulmonary functions and mechanism into the human voice, and we pull them out of that human voice, and then we actually start plotting them all the way to actually do this work.
And you said it's the patient and doctor calls that you're starting to monitor. So can you give us a double click into the application of how this works?
Yeah. So today's modern healthcare is really transitioning from majority of it from being in person and bringing always encouraging the patient to come in to really adapting the digital remote care. And right now most of the processes that goes on into like following up the patient, tracking them, or understanding how they're progressing has been more of like the provider's experience and the gestalt of like how do I feel comfortable with the patient being able to get that quality of care while they're at home. So it's mostly without any data. So what we're trying to do is like we're adding an additional layer to these calls. We're not creating any new calls. These are calls that are already made continuously throughout the year. Our objective is to add value to each phone call that is being made by a patient to a provider, and even from a provider just trying to actually follow up with the patient. We want for them to be able to say like, oh, I have 25 data from like the past 60 days from you just being on the phone with me, and I feel like you're progressing or I feel like you're declining, or how can I best support you, rather than being over the current digital health or like remote care, which is we wait for a patient to come out of the hospital, then pour a significant amount of resource. So we are targeting on being more proactive rather than reactive for the providers.
Wow, and there's so many pieces that I love about this. One being, this is something that I particularly love about, products that have this feature, but meeting folks where they're at and not forcing new behaviors or new processes. Most folks hate changes being applied to their processes, especially if they're not the ones introducing them. So by finding a way to meet these caregivers in the process they're already doing. So you're not adding additional phone calls, you're just placing another layer of data collection and data analysis on top of something that they already do. So for one, from a product implementation perspective, I love it because everyone hates process change, and the cost of switching a behavior is really high. Alternatively, if you have a solution that seamlessly works in the background while they're doing their job, like that is the opposite. That is like kind of like the runway that people love.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
And when it comes to even like, and especially in clinical space, new processes mean there's not only just it's not only the provider. You have to start like top down, or like you start with the providers, the nurses, everyone. You have to create a process in which they don't feel that they have to deviate away or interrupt or disrupt the patient care itself. So our objective is to really, like, the patient care, it's right here, and our objective is to like take it up a notch for them to be able to say like, this is the optimal care that we can actually arrive at. Yeah.
And the other piece I love is the change over time. So it's not just the real-time vitals that you're able to pick up, but you're able to say, hey, those phone calls that we had over the course of the month, I've been able to see you. I imagine probably a pretty skilled technician at this point, a pretty skilled, caregiver could sense it. They'd probably tell you, oh, I have the ear for it, I heard it. But here you guys are able to actually put data points around probably this correct feeling that folks were having, probably validating it. And you guys could you dig a little bit in? I know you can't, it's proprietary, but can you dig a little bit more into like how are you able to extract cardiac signals from a voice? That sounds science fiction-y. So that's got to be a very exciting world we're in right now.
Yeah. So the way we've actually arrived to it is, one, we did like a quick study between like existing technologies, how we actually provide resources for the patients to be able to actually, and as well as for the providers to be able to like communicate and get that wraparound care. And continuously we were battling between there's too many devices there's too many devices that the patients is getting frustrated, and patients like the compliance of it is just ridiculously low. And on the other side, there's too many processes, like the provider has to jump through many systems to just get that data. So I was trained as a bioengineer, and my area of focus is digital signal processing. And what we ended up, I remember though, I was on a call with a physician who does virtual urgent care, and we got on the phone with them, and they were like super frustrated. Like, send a patient. I didn't have any data, so I actually just sent the patient to the hospital without any providing like any like more concrete. And it's not that they do not have the experience. These are seasoned providers, but it's how do you actually gauge that? So we finished the call and we were like, what if it was just the phone call? Because patients are already on the phone. So we ended up doing like a study of like how does like the cardiac function, like, because your body continues working whether you're speaking or you're not speaking, it continues working. So what we ended up understanding is that when you're speaking and your heart and lungs and your vitals, like, you continue just like processing, all the vital functions are running, they do not run separately, they just get embedded on each other. And so it's like it's like we have to like take a coin and scratch off the verbiage or like the speech itself, and just leave the signal that is just like for the mechanical function of the heart, how your lungs actually fill up, how your breathing rate, how does that actually change over time. And so what we actually do after we scratch off the speech signals is that we leave like a full blueprint of like all the signals that we actually want to understand. And so our work started to take those signals, understand how we can actually transform them to more insights, to clinical insight that the provider can like take and leverage and use to actually provide care and support their patient.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So I guess, I mean, the way you say it, it makes sense that the heartbeat, all of these pieces come together in, like, it's all part of us anyway. It's already beating, and it is being transmitted on frequencies we don't understand, or at least we don't track in our own here, or more likely than not, we just have been trained ourselves to ignore, because if our ears listened to everything, we drive ourselves insane. So we only keep track of the things that are most important to us. But your technology allows us to really, to your point, scrape away, which ironically, the noise is actually the way we communicate with each other, but the noise of communication, and you really get to the biomechanics of the signals that are coming out of our mouths and the rest of our bodies. Wow. How did you find yourself in this position? How did you dedicate your life to solving this type of problem? It sounds like you were a bioengineer or biomedical engineer by training. Is this something you kind of always thought you'd do?
Quite the opposite, to be quite honest. So since I moved to the US, I've been in healthcare. I've worked in the healthcare space. I started as a first responder. I started as a medical assistant, then first responder. I worked in the ER, urgent care, and rotated through psychiatric, OB-GYN, and family medicine. And I loved it. I love healthcare at a very different capacity. And my thought whenever I actually embarked on this career is that in the healthcare journey, I thought the only way that I could impact patient care or healthcare system is by being patient facing. And so down the line, I actually was planning to go to medical school. I I transitioned into clinical research. Continuously, all the time, I love innovation. My clinical research was always focused on like how do we take technology, which is 3 decades ahead, and bring medicine to actually catch up to it. That was always my focus. So my first research, I worked with support from Dr. Nathan Skelly, who's an orthopedic surgeon. We're actually replicating external and internal fixators using 3D technology. Our idea was patient comes in, they go to the OR. We actually have like an OR prepping like external fixators, internal fixators, to 400 degrees printing with carbon fiber reinforcement. Take it, put it into patients, and let them go because it's very costly in remote areas. And that's the area that I always wanted to focus in. Finished with that. Pandemic happened. I dove right into the shift of like from fee for service to value based system. I loved the value based system mission of like really finding and meeting patients where they are, providing quality care and resources. I feel like it's a more holistic approach to healthcare. And so at the same time, during the pandemic, I actually applied to physician assistant. I was applying to medical school and physician assistant school, and it was taking so long because it was during the pandemic. And I was like, you know what? I love research, and I'm just gonna go and like apply for bioengineering while I actually wait on this. And I did that, and it actually worked out very best because throughout the time that I was my shift from value-based system from fee-for-service to value-based system allowed me to see a different side of like providing patient care. And all my experience with research really just catalyzed that that mission of like really you can be behind the scenes and you can actually impact patient care twice because you are changing the systems, you're changing the technologies, you're innovating the process of how the healthcare is being delivered. And when you change the system, you're not only changing it for like the one patient that you're actually facing, you're changing it for thousands or tens of thousands and millions of patients. And that was like my driving force to like, you know what, this is an area that I would love to actually understand more. So really embarked in clinical management, understanding like the pieces and layers in healthcare system. And down the line, it just and that is my professional experience. But my personal catalyst to all the work that I'm doing is near and dear to my heart, where I suffered the loss of my mother because of this same problem that I'm actually working to solve. And my mission is always to like, while when I'm working as a clinician, when I'm working as an operator, is to always find a way to alleviate that for the next person. And so this is like my way of like giving back to the community and still carrying on with the mission that I personally resonates with me and to impact the majority of people that I encounter. Yeah.
And it seems like you found a way to multiply your impact and multiply your value that beyond what you would be able to do for a physician, and not to discourage physicians at all because they do very important work, but they work with patients one-on-one, and by working on the process, you are able to have those changes resonate across, people being treated globally, not just locally. And at one point you mentioned, when you were working with your orthoscopic surgeon mentor, you're talking about like rural areas, and then the ability for Vital Audio to impact anyone with a phone line, which is like literally everyone right now. It's not even reliant on internet teleconferencing capabilities that maybe some folks in remote locations may have less access to, but voice is something that most people everywhere will get. And one more piece I just love so much about your stories, I also find it, I love chatting with folks who are building from what they know. And so your background of having been in the ER, have been working as, physician's assistant or working in urgent care as as a first responder, you're seeing the challenges in the industry firsthand. It's not so much you have identified some sort of niche and you're attacking that niche from a purely business perspective. Yeah. Yours is very personal and also very knowledgeable approach. It's great.
Yeah. And I'll say this, like one of the things that you come to learn being in the space for so long is that innovation is wonderful. I love all aspects of innovation. The one thing, as an engineer and any person who loves to solve problems, is we tend to, like, once we find a solution, we solve it, we get the solution, we apply it, great, things are going well, and we actually move on. But one of the things that I keep on learning is that the one area that innovation is failing, we are focusing more on like new innovation continuously. And we're forgetting the aspect of like there's innovation A, and we've actually applied it to problem A, but we've not actually explored the full potential of that innovation. So for us, like, it was like there's an innovation which is phone calls. I can be right here in California, and I can make a phone call to my brother in New York, and they will still be able to communicate and so forth. So that's like another area that is like it's not explored. We like, yes, let's make phones to actually communicate across long distance, but what else can we actually leverage these technologies? So like that's the kind of like innovation that I feel like medicine has also been missing. There's innovation of like new technologies, and innovation of like really maximizing the opportunity or the application of existing or already developed technologies to its full potential. And that's one of area that we're trying to like really redefine when it comes to like how clinical insight are provided to clinicians and patients altogether. Yeah.
As you're developing this new technology, and this, it's kind of funny. It's like it's innovating on the telephone, which has been around for like 110 years, which I do particularly love. How did you go about trying to identify who your first customers would be? Who do you approach, and how do you approach them with this type of new application?
I love that a lot. This is one of my favorite questions. Whenever I actually pick the subject that I actually wanted to study for my graduate program, NYU's Future Lab incubator director, Vadim Gordon, came to speak with us in our seminar, and when he came to speak to us, I was like, okay, this is my time. I'm going to actually also find a way to make sure that my research is not shelved, but is also going to be applied in real life. And first meeting that I had, I pitched my idea, and he was like, go and talk to customers. Go and talk to physicians, and so like our first mission and our first focus was really driving the point with hospitals, value-based systems, as well as payer partners. We ended up participating with National Science Foundation Innovation Corps, and we also did over our customer discovery. Since we started, we've not stopped. We've done thousands of like customer discovery calls, and we still do it today. And the idea is there's always an opportunity to learn on like where you add the most value to like your customers. And so we moved away from just like directly to hospital systems and pair we work closely with pairs, and we also work closely with remote healthcare service providers. So these are like our biggest partner is Tele 911, who's like they're the leaders of ED diversion across the nation. We actually have like we're aligned in like our expectations, our goals on how we actually will impact the healthcare space, and that makes it much more easy to actually move forward and provide the care that we know we can actually provide, or the service that we can provide.
Are you finding that your customer discovery calls are leading to sales? Is that kind of part of your funnel?
Yes. So most of them are. One of the things that we're also learning is there's the way to actually move forward is not always like sales for us. We're also working on really distribution channels, like places where we're actually working to build and provide the access to our technology. They become like a very valuable partners for us to like distribute the technology. We're white labeling it, allowing people to actually start using it and being able to access the technology at that capacity. So while most of them lead to sales, some of them lead to like strategic partnership for like distribution and so forth.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, because from your perspective, Vital Audio doesn't have to be a household name. You can be white labeled if one of the major hospital chains wants to have their name on it. From your perspective, that doesn't hurt you at all. The partnership is still a win for you. It's the distribution of the technology,
Exactly.
The application of the technology.
Exactly.
And have another question, and feel free if it's too deep, but like in terms of like the way that you handle it, is it like, are you charging by engagement? Are you charging by like a year? Is it like, hey, up to some number, you have to give specifics, but up to some number of calls that are made and identified, or the number of patients? Just curious to hear how you've gone about trying to identify that part of the pricing model.
Yeah, so initially we were thinking of doing it like straight. You pay an implementation fee, and moving forward you actually are covering a per month per patient cost. But we've actually since changed the model to pay an implementation fee. We implement it, and we're going to do more of like value-based pricing, where we're going to be doing like the cost per usage. So the cost per usage, and also there'll be like a slight discount if you have like a big volume of patients. How do we actually collaborate to make sure that you get as much value from like using the technology just as much as like a practice with 80,000 patient gets. So we're trying to actually do that value-based pricing for both our large customers and small customers to account for them. So it's just playing with numbers there on like based on per usage. The cost is going to be, if you're going to have like high usage, then your cost is probably going to be lower compared to like a person with like slight usage. Then we're going to be adjusting those prices.
Yeah, because then I imagine there's quite a bit of at least tailoring to specific systems that you're actually integrating with. So you're doing the analysis, and although it's all over the phone, the distribution of that analysis that you're doing has to fall into someone's specific patient portal or data lake. And from your perspective, it's easier to scale it than it is to do small numbers of customers in one-off, which is typical for this type of company. So that's amazing.
True. Yeah.
I'd love to ground us back in Los Angeles. Having met you through Techstars LA is a great start and a fantastic organization. But what is the most LA thing that you'd say has happened to you? It can be tech related, or it doesn't have to be.
Well, the most LA thing that has happened to me, completely not tech related. I've been mistaken for Kevin Hart 3 times.
That's
already,
awesome.
Which I've at some point, like last time, I was like with my partner, and I was like, you know what? If someone actually mistakes me again for Kevin Hart, I might have to just find him and maybe get like a check from him or something like that. Yeah, but that's the...
Or just sign his name. No, not tonight. Not today, guys. Not today. And just like sign an autograph and just walk away.
Exactly. Maybe I should actually just like, when next time someone does that, like, yeah, I can just
or just take a selfie. All right, come on. Just like really nonchalant too. Like, yeah, all right, you're over it already. Okay, come take the picture. All right, have a good night. We're doing our thing here.
Yeah.
Like that would be the best way to actually...
It's funny
be mistaken for Kevin Hart and have him like go and tell their friends, oh, I actually saw Kevin Hart. He was so cool.
It's funny because last night it did happen too. We went to dinner. Like, I was like, okay, yeah. I thought like LA people would know these people by association already. So, but that was my LA experience. The one thing that I really love about LA, I have a dog, and came with my dog out here. I love going to Rosie Dog Beach up in Long Beach.
I don't know.
Just like let my dog off the leash, run around with other dogs. Great way to just like enjoy the day, or like when I'm actually just having like some time away from work. That's the best part of it, and the weather.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, hey, Nyamitse, thank you again for stop by the studio. We've been talking with Nyamitse-Calvin Mahinda. He is the CEO and co-founder of Vital Audio. And where can everyone find Vital?
We are on LinkedIn. If you just type Vital Audio Inc., you'll see us there. You'll also be able to get more frequent updates of like what we're up to, what we're doing, where we're going. Largest partnerships, like our largest partnership upcoming deployment for like Tele 911. We can also find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Instagram, Vital Audio Inc. too. So same name. You just copy and paste it. Easy.
Well, thanks again so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank our sponsors as Nearshore and Unita. I'd like to thank you all for listening to us, and if you like what you hear, please smash that subscribe button. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on Founders in LA.